Alrighty, guys, welcome. This is week 5 and 6. We're going to finish up our Python app today. I have all the requirements here. We'll just go through them real quick. So it needs to have a styled project homepage. It has a login button, sign up button, and an about button. We did that weeks, like maybe, I don't know, 3 and 4. But we didn't add the login and sign up button, so you'll need to go in there and do that. You'll need a styled about page that has a sign up, login, and home button on it somewhere. The styled sign up page has a form allowing you to sign up that has a login button, home button, and an about button. Styled login page that has sign up, about, and home button. So this is the button you would click on to log in, and there would be, a sign up form and such. Then the styled logged in page. So after you've logged in, it's going to take you into a password protected page that you can do whatever you want to. It just needs to be styled. And really in there, you can have the home and the about button if you want. I don't really care, but it needs to have at least have that logout button. Okay, and then the logged in page should pull from the database the user's first name, last name, and email and display it on the page somewhere. And then oh, yeah, that's kind of funny there. The form should accept new signups. No duh. I'll just put that here. I don't know why I had that down there. Okay, and then it needs to authenticate users correctly. So after they've signed up, if I go to the login page and I put in the username and password, it should work. If I put it in incorrectly, it should not work. That's kind of obvious. Anyways, so once you have all this done and it's complete, you should be able to finish all of the programming aspects this first week here. And then the second week, I'm giving you basically to finish up the project, put all the finishing touches, style it, and just kind of get it complete. But once it's done, I'm going to show you how to get it uploaded to Heroku, which we've already talked about, but also we need to talk about how to create the database on Heroku so you can accept the new signups. And just make sure everything's working and then post it. This is worth 500 points. The second project we're going to do in this class is going to be worth 500 points as well. So basically 2 projects. Your grade will be basically just how close you got to finishing it. So if you don't finish this completely, at least turn in what you have, because that's better than nothing. All right. So I'm going to hop into, let's go into brackets here. I'm going to do an open folder. I probably should have showed you this a while ago, but I'm going to open up my Python app folder. Okay, and so now everything I need is just kind of in these drop downs and such. There's my static stuff. So therefore, I don't have to go in there and open them all individually. I just open the folder, and so now everything I need is just going to be in this left-hand side. Okay. And then let me open up my command prompt because we're going to be needing that. So cd documents, cd python app. Okay, so now I'm in the working directory. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to create it so users can log in and out. And to do that, we need to create sessions. This is a pretty common term in programming. Sessions is just what that does is it'll put a cookie in your browser so it can remember who you are and if you're logged in or not. And using that session, we'll be able to say, hey, if this session exists, that means they're logged in, so display this page, or don't display this page. It just depends on what we want to do. But creating this session is going to be how we can remember from page to different page whether we're logged in or not. Okay. And what it'll do is it basically creates like an ID. It gives an ID to the app, and the app checks to see if the ID matches the user's credentials. And if it does, it's going to continue to give the protected information. If not, then it won't. All right, so we're going to head over to routes. So I'm going to hop in here. Okay, and we're just going to import some more things from Flask. So we got the Flask, the render template, and request. we are going to import session. So we can use the sessions. We're going to import redirect. Okay, and we're going to import URL4. So URL4 is what we're going to use to go to different pages. Redirect is going to redirect to different pages. And then, of course, session is what we're going to use to use the different sessions and such. Okay, so we got that. Got it saved. All right, and then we're going to head over to the sign in function. So we're going to come down here, and then we have, this is where we're committing the things to the database, right? So what we did before is we just returned a string saying, hey, it worked, if it logged us in and everything was good. But we don't want that anymore. What we want it to do is actually create this session and then take us to a certain page. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to type in session, email. So we're creating a session that has email in it. And we're setting it equal to the new user that we just created, and we're setting it equal to their email. So this session is basically going to have the email stored inside of it, inside of the new user's email, and we're just going to use that to create this session, and then we'll be able to check to see if the session exists. And now because we'll know it exists because they've signed up for a new account, and once they've signed in, it creates this new user, right? It pulls all the information. It commits them to the database, and then it's going to create a session, and it's going to be equal to the email that they typed in. All right. And again, session variables, they're just variables that can be used from one page to another. And I'll show you how we do that later on. So we'll create this session, okay, and then what we're going to do is do return, and we're going to redirect. Remember, we're going to use that redirect up here that we've imported. We're going to redirect it to URL4 home. Okay, we haven't made the home page yet. At least I don't think. Nope, yeah, we haven't created that home page yet. But once they create a new user, they sign up, it'll put it into the database, and then it's going to grab the email and create a session, and then it's going to then basically redirect us to the home page. Okay. All right, we don't have the home page, so we're going to create it, and we are going to create the new route. And we'll just create the route down here, just like we've done with all the other ones. Okay, so route, it's going to be home, is what we'll call it. Or you could say logged in, or I mean, it could be really whatever you want it to be there. Okay, and we're going to define the home function here. And we're going to return render template. It's basically what we've done a bunch of times before here. Okay, cool. So there's the new route, and we need to create that, right? So I'm going to come in here, go into my Python app, I'm going to go into templates. All right, and I will just create, I'm just going to copy and paste the about. We'll use that one, and I'll call it home. All right, so now if I come in here into templates, there it is. Okay, because it's going to be pretty similar to the about page. So, let's get here. I guess I could leave these. Well, this is going to be the logged in page, so I guess I'm really not going to need that. So I will create a new class here in this div. I'm not going to have any pictures. This is going to be a pretty empty page right now. So I'll throw that div in here, create another div, Give it a class of container. And for now, I'm just going to have some text in here that says home. Really, all I want to see right now is if the routes work correctly. So when I sign up for something and I sign up as a new user, that it will route me to home. Okay, so that's all I'm doing right now. So if we sign up for a new user, okay, it's going to do all the database stuff. It's going to create a new session. It's going to store the user's email in there, and then it's going to redirect to the home page. We just created that route. All right, so it's going to render the template home.html. We just created that. So it should just show a normal page with just home on it. So let's see if that works. All right, so we will run it. Okay, so we'll come here, localhost, shows up. We'll click on sign up, type in my names, or name. I can't remember if I already did this one or not. Yeah, I think I probably already did. Yeah, so yep, duplicate key value. So I've already used that email. So we'll just create a fake one here. So we'll go fredm@fred.com. Put in a password here. I'll hit sign up. Okay, cool. So it created that session and then it forwarded me to the home page. That's exactly what we want right now. Okay, cool. So it's doing what we want. The code's good and everything's happy. So now we're going to create a sign-in page. Okay, so we're going to go to forms.python. So we have this sign-up form class, and now we're going to create another class because we have a sign-up form, but now we're going to need a login form, right? So I'm going to go class, login form. It's going to be a form here. And I got the 3 strings that I got to mess with. I'm going to do email because that'll basically be their username. I'm going to be asking for the password. And then, of course, I'm going to need the submit button. So the email is going to be a string field. It's going to ask for the email. Okay, and remember we want to put in those validators. So we want to have data required. And if they don't do that, if it throws an error, I want it to say enter email. Okay, also I want to have the email validator in there as well to make sure they put in a valid email. So we'll throw in the email validator as well. And if that error gets thrown, we'll say enter valid email. Okay, so this is just stuff we did in past weeks. Okay, this is gonna be a password field. Okay, it's gonna ask for a password. That'll be the label. And the validators is just gonna be the data required. That's all we're gonna throw in there. Okay, and we will tell them to enter password. Okay, and this is going to be the submit field, or the submit button. Okay, and it's going to say login. So be careful, make sure you got your commas in the right spots, check your spelling, make sure everything's spelled correctly, check your case sensitivity, all that fun stuff. But that should be all we'll need to do there for the class for the login form. Okay, so now we're going to get a route for the sign-in page. So we're going to head over here to routes. Okay, now this route is nuts because just like we've done here in this route with the sign up, we have to do all this database stuff. Well, in the sign-in route, we got to check everything. We got to check the email and the password and make sure everything matches and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll put it in here. I don't think it really matters what order these are in, but we're just going to put it right under the sign up. Okay, so app.route. Okay, and it's when we'll have to type /login to get to it. Now remember, we got to define that we can use these methods so we don't get that method error. So the methods we're going to allow are, get and post. Okay, and then we're going to define login. All right, so the form we're going to use, right, is going to be, we're going to pull it from the class over here. So login form. So we're going to use that. So form is going to be equal to login form. Get some space here. All right, so we're going to say, need an if statement to kind of check to see what kind of request it's going to be. So if the request method is equal to post, in other words, they've submitted a form. Now we're going to check some other stuff. So if form.validate, we got to make sure that the form validated. Okay, so it goes through and it does all these validators. Okay, the email validator, the data required validator, all of that. So if the form validation is false, okay, in other words, it didn't validate, in other words, they made a mistake or something, we're going to return the render template. So we're going to have just login.html load again. And then we're going to pass the form stuff that we typed in, so that'll be available to the form. Okay, else, in other words, if it does validate, we got to start storing things that they typed in. So we're going to say email, we're going to set up a new variable, it's going to be form.email.data. All that's doing is storing the email that they typed in from the form, that's saving that inside of email here. We'll set up another variable called password. Same thing here. We're going to store what they typed in the form inside of password. Okay, we'll set up another variable called user. This is going to be the variable that's going to store the query to the database. So we're going to use that user class. Remember right up here, from models, we're importing user. So if we go into models, we got this class user, right? User basically stores all the database stuff here, and the password hash checks and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're using here. Let's go back down. So that's what that user is, the capitalized letter user. So user.query filter by. So this is Flask's way of checking the database. All right. So what this does is it uses that user that we created, basically the whole database. It's querying the database and it's filtering by the email equals email. So it's going to check the email. It's using this variable here. So the email that they typed in, it's going to check for that. It's going to check for the email that they typed in, and it's going to look for the first instance of it. So now our database isn't set up to allow more than one email that's the same. So this is kind of redundant here. But what this is doing is saying find the first email, the first, I don't know, the first column or the first row where it exists. So let's pretend, that an email was in there twice. Well, it would find the first instance of it, and that's the one it would pick. Okay, but again, ours doesn't do that because we didn't allow there to be multiple copies of an email in our database. Okay, so inside of user, basically we're storing all of the information from that user with that email. So we're storing their first name, their last name, their email. Everything will be stored inside of this variable here with this query that we're doing. So it'll go in there, it'll find the user with that email, and then it will return it back into this variable. Okay, so if user is not, kind of like how Python, it's like you usually go does not equals, right? But Python actually lets you type it out, which is kind of cool. If user is not none, and user.check underscore password, okay, what this is saying is if it's not none, in other words, oh man, I'm so glad they're playing Battleground. Let me kill this. It's kind of annoying when that comes up. So if it queries the database and it doesn't find that person by that email, it's going to return none. Okay, this keyword none. In other words, it's going to come back and say, they weren't in that database. So if it's not none, that means it found something. So if user is not none, in other words, it found something, and user.check password. Now, what's this check password? If we go back to, I think it's in our models here. If we scroll down here, we have this check password function basically. And what it's doing is it's using the check password hash, which we've imported from WorkZug, or however you say that. This plugin, or whatever you want to call it, this class, gives us this generate password hash and check password hash functions. So what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, if they found the user and the password, this is the password right here, right? We're feeding it the password, giving it the password that they typed in, and then it runs this check password function on it. So if it comes over here, it comes over to the models, and then it runs check password on it. Okay, so it passes into the password what they typed in, okay, and it runs this function, and it's going to basically take the password that they typed, and it's going to check it with the hash that's inside the database. So if the two match up, then obviously it's the correct password. If they don't, then it's the wrong password. All right, so that's what we're doing here. So if the user's found, if they exist, and the password after running the check password function on it comes back as true, in other words, the passwords match, then we know they're logged in, and we know that everything's good to go. So we're going to create that session. Okay, and we're going to return redirect. We're going to redirect back to URL for home. Okay, so if the username and the password are right, we're going to create a new session. Okay, remember we basically did that up here. We create a new session. We're creating that session so it'll remember that we're logged in, and we're just using the email that they typed in to create that session, and then we're going to redirect them to the home page. All right, so that page right here, we're going to redirect them here. Okay, else, in other words, if it didn't work, if one of those things were wrong, the username and the password were wrong, we're going to return, and we're going to redirect them not to the home page, we're going to redirect them back to the login page. Okay, now that's all if the form, that's all if the request method is post. So if they've submitted the form, we're checking to see if it validates. Okay, if it doesn't validate, we're just going to reload the login form. I'm just checking something. Yep. Okay, so if the form doesn't validate, we just reload the form. If it does validate, in other words, everything was typed in correctly, we grab the email and password that they typed in, we query the database, we grab the first record that has that email in it, We check to see if the user exists. We make sure that the password matches. If it does, we create a session and we direct them to the home page. If the username or password doesn't work and it's not correct, then we reload the login page. That's all if it's post. Okay, but now we're going to come over here. Now you got to make sure that you're tabbed in the right spot because we're doing an else if for this if statement, not for this one. So make sure you're right directly under this if statement here. Okay, else if the request method is get. In other words, if we're just loading the page. We're going to return render template. Okay, and we're going to pass all the form variables to it. So this is just taking all the form data, the username, password, all that stuff, we're passing it into the form so it can be used. All right, so that's if the request method is get. If it's get, that means it's just loading the page. If it's post, that means that it's submitting the form. And I know you may be wondering about the double and single quotes. To be honest, they're pretty much interchangeable in most spots. There are a couple times where you have to use double quotes that are not single or vice versa, but for most of these, I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter which one you're using here. Okay, so now that we've created that route and the route is checking for everything that it needs to check for, we're going to create the login file. Okay, and I'm going to copy the signup file because it's going to be very similar to that. So I copy and paste the signup file, and I'll rename this to login. Okay. All right, so let's head over to login. Okay, now the links that we're going to want to have here, okay, remember this is the login page, so I'm going to want the home page. That's good, that's fine, but I'm going to want a sign up page because maybe they're on the login page and they're like, ah, crap, I haven't signed up. So we're going to have a link to sign up. Okay, so that'll go to the sign up page. Let's see, I think, got to check real quick. I think I already grabbed some pictures and stuff. Yeah, I have a sign-in picture. So I'm going to use my sign-in picture that I already put in there. That's stuff that you guys are just going to kind of do on your own. All right, so then here we'll say sign in or log in, I guess. Okay, now the action is not going to be the sign up route, right? Because we've already done that. We want to do the login route. Okay, we got our hidden tag. That's what we want. Now we just need to start creating. See, this form is way bigger than the other one. So the first thing we're going to be asking for is the email, right? So I can erase this. So we're going to ask the email, and it's going to be for the label. And then it's going to go through and check to see if there's any errors with the validators that we created. So if form email.errors, we're going to loop through inside the email errors and display them. Okay. And that's it. And then we're going to have the actual form.email. Now, if you're going, wait, where's the stuff coming from? Remember, if we come back over here, we have email equals, and it's a string field. Okay, and it's asking for an email, and it has these validators attached to it. That's what we're pulling this from. So form.email, what that's doing is it's coming here, form.email, and form.password, and so forth. All right, so that'll show the label. Check to see if there's any errors. If there will, it displays the errors in between the label and the actual email text box. Okay, so now we need to do the password one. So form.password.label. Loop through to see if there's any errors. Okay, and then display the password field. Okay, and the rest of these, I don't, that's kind of funny. There was already an email one. I could have just used that. Oh, well. All right, so we'll get rid of that one. That's funny. There was a password one too. Oh, gosh. Love that. Oh, well. Okay, so we'll kill those. And then we will keep that submit button. Okay, and I'm going to keep using the class of sign. Remember that that's from my CSS file. All right, that's pretty sure that's all we're going to need here. Now I may need to go into the CSS and reposition my image a little bit, but for now I'm just focusing on the Python stuff. The CSS stuff you should all know and be able to do what you want with that. So got the hidden tag to prevent the cross-site scripting. Okay, we got the label for the email. We check for the errors of the email. If it's there, we're going to show them in there with the class of error, which was just make it red. Okay, then we're going to have the email text box show up. Okay, then the password label is going to show up, checks for errors, displays them in red, and then the password text box, and then the submit button. And remember, form.submit. We come over here. It's going to say login. So I get it. Probably the hardest part about this is just knowing where all the stuff is and what it's pulling from. Right, because we have our routes, right? And if we go into this login page, it's going to load the login form and save it inside a form. So when we load this login page, it does that. It goes over to the forms, it grabs the login form, loads all this stuff. Okay, and then when we submit it, it does all this stuff. Okay, when the page loads, it just runs login.html. Okay, so it hops over to login.html. And because in the routes, we've defined that on the login page, form is going to be this login form, that's where we can start using all these form.email.label and all this stuff. And it's pulling it from the login form class here. So you got all these different files kind of working together. It's a different way to think about it. Okay, so let's see if this works. We had some issues here, so that's okay. We just got to run it again. Okay, looks like it's working. So now we're just going to come here to the login page and see if something comes up. Okay, so fun. We have some issues. It says login form is not defined. Okay. Now that's because I think I'm a noob. I think I know what I did wrong here. If we go back, crap, I didn't want to do that. Open back up forms. If we come up here, yep. So in my routes, I've imported sign up form, right? But I have not imported login form. So my routes can use, whoa, that was weird. That was an awesome squeak. So my route page can use sign up form, which is right here, this form here. But routes can't use login form because I didn't import it. So I got to come up here to routes, put a comma. I totally forgot to do this. So login form. Now we'll save it, and then that hopefully will fix it. We'll see. There we go. Sweet. So there's my new login image, Python page, home, sign up. Okay, I did change that to sign up instead of sign in. And then really on the home page, you're going to want a sign up button and a sign in button. So you'll need to go in there and add that as well. And then style it as needed. Because really you're going to have like an about page, a sign up page, and a sign in. So when you're kind of getting finished, just go through your app and make sure that each page has the buttons that it would need. All right, so go log in. Okay, so now it's working. All right, let's see what we need to do here. Okay, now this is where, when I was playing around with it, I don't know, this just didn't seem to work. For some reason, locally on my computer, it's having issues with the database and such. So, but the interesting thing is once I got it up to Heroku, it started working. So my code was fine, it's just it didn't work locally. So let me try it. Okay, so it doesn't work. Now, let's double check this. So I'm going to hit sign up, and I'm just going to go hi at hi.com. Crap, I might have already done this. And the password will be ABC123. And we'll hit sign up. Okay, so that's good. We're in. So now I'm going to go back to login. I'm going to say hi at hi.com, ABC123. Yeah, and it's not working. So for some reason, and I'm, the code may be wrong, but I don't think it is. But yeah, for some reason locally, even though my password are fine, it's not able to check the password hashes correctly. And I was running into this. I spent a few hours trying to fix it, and I was like, well, you know what, screw it, I don't know. I'll just see what it does when I get it to Heroku. So once I got it up to Heroku, it actually started working. Now, one thing you can do that I was doing for a while is you can come over to your routes, and you can say if user is not none or, so what that does is just say if one of these are true, if it finds the user or if the password checks out, then it'll let you in. I started doing that to make sure my homepage was doing what I wanted and such. And I used that for a while, but then when I uploaded to Heroku, I changed it to and then it worked. So if it doesn't work for you, no, don't freak out yet. If you're doing this on a Mac, it may work. The Mac configurations may work a little bit better. So anyway, so I'm going to throw an or in there for now. And I'm going to go hi.com, ABC123, hit login. Then it forwards me to home. And that's telling me that, that at least it's finding my email in the database, because I could come over here and just get rid of this whole line. Just, if user is not none, and then I can come back here to log in. Then I can just say hi.com, log in. It's going to ask for a password, ABC123. Okay, so it puts me in. So I know that this is working, that it's finding my username in the database. The thing that's screwing it up is where it's saying, it's checking the password. And I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't work locally. I searched and searched, and the thing is, the code is right. It's just some issue with it communicating with it's just some issue with the check password hash and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, once I got it up to Heroku, it worked fine. So we'll keep it like this for now, because I'm pretty sure it's right. Okay, so now another thing we need to pay attention to is here we get all these weird notices. It's saying Flask W2F deprecation warning. Deprecation means that something's out of date and it's been replaced with something better. So right here it says Flask W2F deprecation warning. Flask W2F.form has been renamed to Flask form. All right, so and I think there's other ones. So another one, deprecation warning, importing flask.ext.sqlalchemy is deprecated. Use Flask SQLAlchemy instead. So I want to do this just to be up to date, because when things are deprecated, sometimes it becomes, there's a point in time where it'll show up where you can't even use it anymore, and it could break your stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to head over to models. Okay, and it was yelling at me about this. Okay, so I am going to change the flask.ext.sql alchemy. I'm going to change that. Just got to make sure I get this right. All right, so to Flask. Okay, it wants me to do that. Okay, and then also I'm going to head over to forms. Okay, and it was yelling at me about Flask W2F, I think, right? Okay, so it doesn't like that I'm importing form. It wants me to import Flask forms. Okay, now here's the problem though. Because I was importing form from Flask W2F, I was using it here. Okay, so now when I run it, it's going to give me all kinds of weird errors and stuff. So I need to use this class that I'm importing. So I got to come over here and I got to change these to Flask form as well. So now you can kind of see how what you're importing, how it relates to what you're doing down here. Okay. Oh, yeah, see, that was the issue right here. Is it's like, oh, form's not defined. Yeah, when I was using just form, it wasn't defined because up here I was importing it as Flask form. So now we can run it again. See if we get any weird errors. Okay, we're still I never fixed this one. SQL Alchemy track modification as significant overhead. Don't really care about that, but all the other stuff is done and good. So we at least fixed those two things. This one, don't worry about it. I think we're okay. So anyways, those are the two things we wanted to fix and get rid of. Okay, so we're logging in, right? So we log in and it creates that email session, but we want to make it so we can log out, so it doesn't remember us anymore. Okay, so we'll come here. We're going to go to routes. So we're going to put this above the home route. If I can find it. There we go. Okay, so we're creating another route. This is going to be a logout page. So we'll type logout. Okay, and we're going to define it. Okay, and we're doing session pop. And then we will return and we will redirect to URL 4, and we will go back to the home page of the app. Now, if you've used pop at all, I know what it does in JavaScript. The pop method will actually take things out of an array. So I'm wondering if sessions in Python are stored in an array. To be honest, I'm not really sure. But session.pop, what that does, it just deletes it. It gets rid of the session. I don't know if, like I said, if sessions are stored in an array and that's what you're doing. But session.pop will go to that email session that we've created up here or that we've created up here, and it just deletes it. Okay, and then it will take us back to the home page of the app. So that's all we got to do there for logging out. Okay, so let's test that. See if it's still running. It is. All right, so we've logged in, and then I'll just say log out, and then it redirects us to the home page. That's all we need to check. Can't really check to see if the session got deleted. We'll be doing that in a minute, but at least redirects us back to the home page, and that's what we wanted. Okay, so right now I've logged out, but if I go to home, I can still go to the home page. That's bad. I should only be able to go there if I'm logged in. So we got to protect this page. We got to add authorization, and that's what we're going to kind of start doing here. Okay, and another thing we want to do is if I'm signed in, then I shouldn't be able to see the sign up page, because why would I want to sign up? I've already signed up, so I don't need to see that. And also, if I'm already logged in, I don't really want to see the login page either. So we're going to do kind of both. So if we're logged in, I'm not going to be able to see the login page or the sign up page. If I'm not logged in, then I shouldn't be able to see the home page. So we kind of want to go both routes there. Okay, so we're going to head over to our routes. And we're going to go to the home route. And we're going to throw in an if statement here. So if email is not in session, we're going to return redirect URL for login. Oops. So that's it. So it's going to go into the session variable and it's going to check to see if email's there. Okay, if it's not, in other words, if that session hasn't been created, it's going to redirect us back to the login page. Okay, if everything's good and it does exist, then it will just keep going and it will take us to the home page. That's really it. So that's why it's important to create these sessions, because you can just say, hey, if email exists in the session, great, the session works, go to the home page. If it's not there, if it's not in the session, well, then we know a session hasn't been created and they haven't logged in, so we're going to return them back to the home page. Okay, so now we're going to head over to sign up right here. And that's just the first thing we want to check for. So if email is in the session, then we're going to return redirect URL for home. So this basically is if the email is in session. In other words, if we're logged in, if the session has been created, it's just going to redirect us back to the home page. Remember, that's the logged in page. So if we're logged in, it's going to take us back into the logged in page. It won't take us to the sign up page because that just doesn't make any sense. Okay. And then let's see here. We will go to the login function now. And do kind of a similar thing. So if email is in the session, in other words, if we're logged in, it's going to return redirect URL for home. Same thing. So if we're logged in and we go to the login page, it will just take us back to the logged in home page. Alrighty, so let's save this. Yep, still running. So, okay, so we've logged out. So if I try to go to the home page, it redirects me back to the login page. That's good. That's what we want. Now I'm going to log in here. I am going to have to mess with this. So I'm going to come back here and make this or instead of and, just so it'll let me log in locally here. So I'm going to do the high one. Okay, I've logged in. It's created the session. Everything's great. So now if I try to go to the sign up page, it redirects me back to home because that session has been created. And if I try to go to the login page, it redirects me back to home as well because I'm logged in. So there's no reason to log in. There's no reason to sign up because I've already done both those. Okay, and then if I go back to log out, and then I try to go back to the home page, it will not let me because I've been logged out. Yay! Happy days, right? Right. Cool stuff. I like this stuff. Okay, so now that we've logged in, what I want it to do is, so part of the assignment that we talked about is the logged in page should display your first name, last name, and email somewhere, somehow. It can be a welcome message. It can be, here's the information that we have for you, and then you display it in a table. Doesn't matter what you do. I don't care what the message is or whatever. I just want you to be able to pull that information from the database and display it. So the way we do that is, well, I mean, you actually, if you take what we've done here, you already should know how. What we have to do is create a session variable that stores that information from the database in it, and then we just use that session variable to display it onto the page. So I'm going to go into the login route right here. Okay, and if once it creates that session, right, and that means it's been logged in, I'm just going to create another session variable. I'm going to call it greeting. You can call it whatever you want, and I'm going to set it equal to the user.firstname. Okay, because remember the query up here, it goes out there and it grabs the information from the database. Inside of there, it pulls everything, the first name, the last name, the password, the email, everything. So now using this variable, I can pull any of the user's information. So I can say user.firstname, user.email, user.lastname, and this is how I'm going to pull that stuff from the database and then store it inside of this session variable that I can use basically anywhere on any page, which is very slick. So now that I've created that, I can come over here to my home page and I can say something like greetings, and then remember when we're going to put Python code inside of HTML, it's these curly brackets, and then I just say, hey, use that greeting session variable. So now when I log in, it should say greetings, comma, space, and then print out that session variable of greetings. I forgot the quote. Well, is it greetings or greeting? Hold on, what did I do? Greeting. Get rid of that S. So it should say greetings Dave, or greetings Fred, or greetings whoever it was. Okay, and I did that in the login route. So this will only happen when I log in, not when I first sign up, but just when I log in. So let's test it here. So I'll come back here, we'll do login. I can't remember, did I change that back or not? The and or thing. Yep, I got or there, so we should be able to log in. So I'm going to say hi at hi.com, ABC123. Again, it says greetings, hi, because that's what I put in is the first name inside of the first name field when I signed up. Okay, let me log out. Then I will, so you're definitely going to want a login button on the home page. So let me try this one. I really don't remember what I put here. So greetings, Dave. So if I wanted to throw in the last name, I would just have to set up another variable. So sessions ln or something for last name. Well, let's do it. So I can say session, we'll call it, I'll just call it ln for last name, and it'll be user.lastname. And then I can come over here, say greetings, Dave. We'll do we need a space there, and then it's going to be session ln. All right, so then when we come back here, log out. Make sure I saved everything. Yep. So now I can do log in. We'll log in with this. Greetings, Dave Kid. Okay, and it is pulling that dynamically from the database, which is very cool. So you need to pull the last name, the first name, and the email in some sort of way. And the cool thing is, guys, now you can use your HTML skills that you have here. You could put these in a div, style them, position them, put them in a table. You can do whatever you want, but now you got these dynamic Python variables that are getting pulled from the database, which is slick. And you can just kind of do whatever you want with them. And you can see that they're inheriting these H2 styles, right? Because Dave Kidd is now, it's an H2. Okay, so make sure you pull all three, first name, last name, and the email, and just do something with it. I don't really care what. Okay, now we want to have this happen when they sign up as well. So we're doing basically the same thing. We're going to come over here to the sign up. Okay, and really all we would do is just create these variables on the sign up page as well. Because let me show you the problem, right? So if I come here and I do, well, I got to log out first or this will freak out. So I log out, we're going to go sign up. What the heck? Log out. Okay. I'll sign up. I'll be Fred, George F at fred.com. Whatever password, ABC123 again, and I hit sign up. Well, that's weird. That's really weird, actually. Why is it doing that? It's like it cached that. Well, that's bad too, right? I actually have no idea why it's doing that. It must be caching that. Okay, interesting, because I didn't kill. Oh, I never even thought about that. Okay, so when I log out, I kill the email session, but I don't kill these sessions either. So I need to do that as well. So I got to kill the greeting session. And I need to kill the LN session. All right. Let's try this again. Crap. What was it? George F at fred.com. Okay, so greetings, Fred George. So, anyways, man, I need to sign up again. It's kind of weird that it's all up there now too. All right, so we'll do sign up. My pony at pony.com. Put in some password. Okay, this is all I was trying to show. Is now it says greetings nothing when you sign up. Don't want that. So we'll go into the routes, and so when we log in, great, the session variables work and they pull it from the database. That's awesome. But when we sign up, they do not, because those session variables don't exist. So it's pretty simple. All we got to do is just grab this. We grab these two session variables and we put them up here with email. That's it. Now that these session variables are getting loaded when they sign up, then they'll be shown as well now. So he at man.com. The heck? Oh, it must have gone through the first time. Okay. Ah, but that. This is starting to get me, guys. All I'm trying to do is show you stuff. So sign up. We'll go Leo, Nardo, Leo at leo.com, ABC123. Great. Now what the heck? User is not defined. Of course it's defined. All right, hold on. I'll be back when I figure this out. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot. So up here, right? What is the variable that holds the query, right? It's new user. It's not user like I have down here. It's new user. So I have new user equals the query. Okay, well, so I need to change that there. I couldn't just copy and paste over. There we go. So that was the problem. Holy Hannah. I'm having all kinds of weird crap in my database now. So Luke Skywalker, Luke at skywalker.net, ABC 123, bam. Okay, there we go. Greetings, Luke Skywalker. Okay, that's all I was trying to show you. All that crap, just so when you sign up for something, it shows. Okay, happy days. Now, the reasons why this is kind of messed up is I'd have to go in there and style it because I put it inside of the container, and I don't think I ever styled that. Go into the CSS. Yep, I did not, so let me do that really quick. Simple enough. I just want to bring it down a little bit. So position absolute, top, I don't know, 150-ish. Left 20. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Happy days. Now to check my notes. Okay. So that's really it, guys. So really, for the assignment, what you're going to need to do is style this up. Just make sure, also you're going to need a logout button here. All right. Because once you're in, you're going to want to be able to log out there. So do that. I was just thinking about if I should tell you guys how to do the logout button, and I guess I will. You should be able to figure it out, especially if you're not zombie coding, which you shouldn't be doing anyways. But really, it's pretty simple, right? We have these links here, so that's all you're going to be doing. So I could just copy this, come over. It really doesn't matter which one I grab here. And we'll go to the home page. Outside of this div, I'll just throw it in there. It's going to be URL4 logout, right? Class is that because that's just the class that I'm using to style the button. And we'll have it say logout. So now when I come in here and refresh, there it is. I click on it, and then it logs me out. And of course, I'd want to style it, move it around, do whatever. So that's simple enough. But yeah, you're going to need, this learn more or about link, a sign up link, a sign in link. Okay, just make sure you go through here and you have all of the different buttons on the different pages. I mean, all of them just make sense. So really, if you just use your app and you try to make it as user-friendly as possible, you should be doing all the stuff I'm requiring you to do anyways. Okay, so we're pretending now that this is done. You're ready to turn it in. Okay, locally it works great, but on Heroku it doesn't work at all. Well, it may work, but it doesn't have the database functionality. So I'm not going to lie, this was freaking nuts. This took me a while to figure out. And when I got it, I was doing some backflips. So what we need to do is we got to log into Heroku. Now, I think there's a way to do what I'm about to do in the command line, but I couldn't freaking figure it out. And to be honest, this is so much easier the way that I do it here. So I'm going to sign out just so we can go through the whole thing. So you go to Heroku. Okay, we're going to log in. Okay, so I'm going to log in. Once you log in, it's going to show all your apps. Okay, so crap, which one is this? Well, we'll find out. You're only going to have one. This is some Ruby stuff that I've done. I think it's Desolate Harbor. I think the Obscure Earth is the test one I was doing. So you're going to click into your app. Hold on, I just want to, okay, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's Desolate Harbor. Yes, it's Desolate Harbor. All right, so you go into Desolate Harbor, you go into your app, it'll show all the different things that you're doing. We're going to configure add-ons because we basically have to put in a PostgreSQL database add-on. So we're going to hit configure add-ons, and we're going to do find more add-ons. So in here, I'm going to just type in Postgre, and you want Heroku Postgres. Okay. Now you got all these ones that you got to pay for. We just want the hobby dev free. That's all we want. And then we're going to hit provision. What this does is it sets it up so now your app can use a PostgreSQL database. Okay, so we can check that by if you type in, Heroku add-ons. This will show you all the add-ons that you have for this app. So now I have this Heroku PostgreSQL database is there. The link or the URL to the database is this, horizontal 27674. It's a hobby dev, so it's free, and it's been created. All the other websites that I saw, like they had all these commands to do this, but I went in there, and this takes, less than like 10 seconds. You've created. Now, I didn't create the database, I just created a space where I can put the database. Where if you try to do database stuff before this, it's going to say, there's no add-ons and you can't do anything here. Okay. So, another thing you can do is do Heroku PG. And this will give you information about your database. So it tells me the plan, it's available, that's good. There's been 0 to 20 connections. It tells me the PostgreSQL version number that it's running, the date it was created, the size. Okay, but there's no tables in there. That means I haven't put any information in there. There's no rows. So this is where once we create the database, we could run this to see. You can run this to see if it actually worked and if there's something in there. So it's good to know that. Okay. Now I think we already had this, but just to make sure, we're going to go pip install flask-heroku. This basically is an add-on that helps make the connection between the PostgreSQL stuff and the Heroku stuff and the Flask things. But I think this may have already been installed before. If not, great, you just installed what you needed and you're good to go. Mine says that requirement already satisfied. In other words, I already installed it. Now, this is the thing. This is the part that killed me and took me forever. Because we have our models and our routes in separate forms or in separate files, Heroku has an issue with creating databases and reading all of the model stuff, because right here is where we define our database, and this is what Heroku uses to create the database. It's because it's in the separate models file, I just had major issues with this. So what I did to end up getting it to work is I'm basically going to take all of this and I'm going to put it inside of routes, just so it's all in the same file. So that's what we're going to do next. And yeah, trust me, it was horrible. Figuring that out was the biggest pain in the butt. Okay, so we're going to take the import statements here, and I'm going to cut it. Okay, get rid of them, and then I'm just going to put them up in here with the rest of them. Okay, easy enough. Now, the one part we do need to get rid of, though, is here, because this is telling it to use the local database. Remember we did this a couple weeks ago. So this is telling it the PostgreSQL link, and this is the login for my local database. Well, we're not using that anymore, so we need to comment that out. So we do that with just the number sign. I'd keep it there, though, just in case you're going to go back and do more local testing. You're going to need that again. But when we throw it up to Heroku, you got to get rid of that. All right, so we've commented that out, and now we need to add some code so Heroku will work. So this has to be above this init line of code. The order is very critical. I actually messed up the order and it wasn't working. It took me a while to figure that out too. So I'm going to set up a new variable called Heroku, and I'm going to use, you know what, it probably doesn't even need this, but I'm going to do it anyways. So this is using the Heroku class that we're not even importing, but you know what, it's one of those things where it worked, so I'm going to do it. Okay, and so we're going to pass to this Heroku class the app. What's the app? The app is up here. The app is this whole thing. The routes and everything is the app. Okay, we're going to go down to the next line, and we're going to set up a variable called db, and we're going to set it equal to SQL alchemy app. All right, because we're using the SQL alchemy class up here, and we're passing it the app as well. So I mean, locally, all we had to say is, hey, use this, and we're good to go. But here it's like, no, we're going to be using Heroku, and also we're setting up this database, this DB variable, and well, actually, I think hold on. I mean, we did it right here, right? So really what we're doing is taking this and just, I mean, that's really all I should have told you to do, is just grab this, cut it, right? Come over here to routes, paste it, but add app to it, because we need to pass it. We need to pass the app to that as well. Okay, and that's it for this. That's the only code that you need to add. Okay, now what we need to do is take all of this code from models. We got to take this whole class, this user class with all the database information in it, and we're going to cut it as well. Come back to routes, and I'm going to put it just right underneath here. And just so I know, I'm going to make a big line here, and I'm going to say like database code or model code or something like that. And then I'm going to make another line, end of DB code, just so I know like what the code is that I copied and pasted over, that I cut and pasted over. Then I'm going to throw it in there. So it's not too bad. Just be really careful that you get it set up the way it needs to be. Okay, and then I'll save that and kind of get rid of the extra lines. So the model stuff here, okay, we added this. And this should be good, because all the examples that I found online, they were all showing that the app code and the routes and all that stuff were in the exact same file as the database model. So once I did that, it worked and everything was happy. So hopefully, hopefully it'll be good as well. Okay. So now that we've done that, what we're going to want to do is add all of the changes to Git, right? And we're going to push all of our changes out to Heroku. So you want to upload everything first before you create the database. I don't know if that's totally right. Like if you don't do it, it'll break, but I know this is how I did it and it worked. So we got to add everything. So remember, if I go to Git status, it's going to tell me all the things that have been modified. Now inside of my folder here, these are all the things that I have. Now, this is another thing I probably should have shown you, is you can say git add space period, and what that'll do is just kind of add everything. So, oh man, I don't know if I should have done that actually. Hold on. Yeah, and that's going to bring everything in VApp as well, which I don't really want it to put in there, but that's okay. But let's go get status. Yeah, so now look at all this stuff that it's having in VApp. Now remember, the beginning of the week or beginning of this course, we talked about VApp. VApp was the virtual environment that we're not even using. So I can just erase this, and we're not even going to be using it. So now if I come back down here, because I really don't want to add all that stuff to Heroku, that might end up making it take forever. So now I'm going to go get add period again, get status. Okay, now it's a lot shorter. I don't really care if it brings up the site cache or Python cache or whatever that is. That's fine. But it recognizes the new form, the new files. It recognizes what I've modified and what I've added and all those things. And that's what I wanted. So, before we were saying get, add, and then forms.py, get, add, all this stuff. I didn't want that. It's just a lot easier to go get add period, and that adds everything. Okay, so now we're going to commit those changes. So -m. Then we just give a little comment here. I'll just say DB for database. Gets everything ready, and then get push Heroku master. And then we sit back and hope to heck that this works. Actually, there's something else it may still work, but I may need to go to this requirements thing again. Let's see here. It might be okay. Shrink this a little bit. No, to be honest, I don't know if that's going to be enough. So, crap, what is that? I don't know, it's like I'm wanting to try it, but I'm not because I don't want to waste time here. But hold on, I'm going to pause and take a look. Yeah, just to be safe, we need to type this. Okay, remember we did this a couple weeks ago. I just want to make sure that my requirements file is completely up to date. So you're going to want to do this before you push it. If you pushed it before, that's okay. We'll just push it again. But I'm going to hit that. Yeah, it added more stuff. Now yours isn't going to look exactly like mine because I was actually playing around with some stuff. I was playing around with geocoder. I was playing around some other things. So you probably won't have everything here like easy setup. Basically, when I was trying to get things to work, I was installing all of these different things. So yours, like I said, won't look exactly like mine, but that's okay. But like Flask Heroku needs to be in there and things like that. So you'll definitely want to run and generate that requirements file again. All right, so now I'm going to go get add everything again because the requirements file changed. And then I'm going to say get commit -m db. Okay, it says one file change, 17 insertions. That's great. Get push Heroku master. Okay, and we'll push that out again. So now it's going to use that requirements file to set up all of these different plugins that I know we need because it works. Now again, if yours doesn't have geocoder and stuff, don't worry about it. But the Flask and Heroku and all that should be there. All right, hanging out, doing our thing. Okay, cool. So now I can say Heroku open. That'll run it. Oh gosh. This is actually scaring me a little bit. So I thought something would at least show up. Oh, this is awesome. Let me check something here. So we're going to go Python routes. Okay, so there is an error that we need to fix. So, oh yeah, we're trying to import stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, I should have talked about this. So, we're importing stuff from models, right? So from models, we were importing DB and user. Well, there's nothing inside of models anymore. Erase all that. So that isn't going to work. So we're just going to comment that out. I'm commenting it out just so I have the code. So if one day I wanted to go back, but for now, yeah, we don't need that. We're not importing DB and user anymore because DB and user are in the same page. Okay, so now the billionth time, we're going to add everything again. Git commit DB. Okay, and now we're going to go git push Heroku master. Actually, to be honest, what I should have done is tried running the routes again to make sure there wasn't any errors. But we can do that once this is done pushing out again. So yeah, I had to push this probably 20 times to finally get it to work here. So Python routes. All right, now it's yelling at me about Heroku. That kind of makes sense because I never imported it. Oh, I forgot to do that. I even had that in my notes. That's kind of funny. So I'm going to come up here. We got that. The forms. Yeah, so from right, it doesn't really matter where, but I'm going to say from Flask Heroku, import Heroku. And we got that, then we got that. Okay, that should be it, guys. Should. Holy cow, I don't know. We'll go Python routes. If I can spell it right. There we go. Okay, good. That looks good. No errors this time. So, for the 10 billionth time. The point here, though, test everything, make sure everything's working before you push it, like I didn't do. But now that we didn't get any errors, we shouldn't have any problems this time. We hope, right? So Heroku open. I mean, so like it should show up and it should work. Okay, which it does, which is great. But now when I hit sign up, that'll come up. But now when I start typing things, I can go test at test.com, ABC123. It's going to give me this internal server error because the database isn't set up and it's not ready to receive that information. So that's the last thing we need to do here. So from here, okay, got it. So to do it, we got to run a Python terminal from Heroku. So like here, when I say Python, routes and all that stuff, I'm running a local Python terminal from my computer. But if we can actually log into Heroku and run a Python terminal as well. So to do that, you go Heroku, run Python. So it's going to go off to my app, and then it's going to connect to it, and then it's going to set up a Python terminal. And there we go. And then you know that because you have these little greater than signs. Okay. So we need to check what's going on here. So inside of routes is where we have this database model where it defines the table name, it defines the columns. Okay, and Heroku is going to use this to set up the correct database. Okay, it's going to be able to take all of this information that we gave it. It's basically like a database schema. It's just we've written out exactly how we want the database to be set up, and so it's going to use this and do that. So once we've logged in, what we're going to do is we're going to say from routes import DB. So what it'll do, it'll go inside of routes.py, and it's going to go to DB, and it's going to go, oh, okay, DB is an SQL Alchemy app. All right, cool. And then it's going to go through all of this and set up, well, it's going to load all of this information that we've defined here. Of course it's not. Or did it? Hold on. No, this is okay. These warnings are okay. We had this before, right? It's just saying, hey, the SQL Alchemy track modifications add significant overhead. Yeah, we don't really care. That's fine. All right, so now I'm going to say db dot create underscore all parentheses. So it will go inside of DB, inside of this model, and it will create all of this stuff. Okay, nothing. Nothing is good. One of the few times in life where nothing is good. Okay, so if you got nothing, that probably means that it worked. So I'm going to hit exit, parentheses. That exits us out of the whatever you want to call it, the Python terminal. And now I can go Heroku PG and take a look at our database. Now we should see something happy. We have one connection. That's good. Before we had a 0. I think the space went up a little bit, and then tables 1, sweet, because we created that users table on here. Now there's no rows because we haven't put any information in it yet, but that's good. That one table tells us that it looks like we probably did it, and it did it the way it should, hopefully. Okay, so that should be it. It should work now. So if we go Heroku open, booyah, sign up. I'll just type in oops, not first. So first name Dave, last name Kid, email. Let's sign up. All right, cool. So greetings, Dave Kid. It went into the database. We have that logout button that we should, position Python page. So I can hit logout. Okay, and then I can come here and I can do the same thing. I can say log in here. Oh, did we change it? That's the question. I don't think we did. Yep, we still have or, so we need to change that to and. We'll do that in a minute. Well, actually, we'll do that now because we need that to be working. Because right now, if I just typed in the correct email, it would take me in, and we don't want that. So we want to change that to and, so the user is found and the password checks out. So what have we done 10,000 times now? So get add boom, get commit dash mdb, get push Heroku master. All right, now it should go out there and update the routes file to look for the username and the password. All right, cool. So we'll come over here. We'll refresh this page. So it should let us in. Sweet. It let us in. If I try to go to the sign in page or sign up, it should just redirect me to home, which it did. Log in, redirected me. Awesome. I'm going to log out. I will do, let's see, yeah, I want to go to the login. So this time I'm going to put in the right email and I'm going to put in the wrong password. And it redirected me home, which is great. And if I put in the right password, it takes me in. So that's what's interesting. It doesn't work locally, but it works up on Heroku, which is great. So that's it, guys. So once you have that done, you have all your pages styled, you have the logout buttons and the home buttons and the about buttons and all that on the right pages and such. This is going to be what you turn in. So I would copy this, come over here to the week 5 and week 6, click on it, come down here, turn it in, reply to the thread, paste it, hit post, do a dance. You're done, hopefully. That was fun, right? Yay for Python, yay for Flask, yay for databases, yay for Heroku. So, like usual, if you have any questions, let me know. Good luck, guys, and we'll talk to you later.